let's talk a little bit about Iceland, because obviously that's very, very important to you. Do you think, going back though, do you think that has been very important in your makeup, your musical makeup, to not be, for example, in England or in America or even Germany, bombarded all the time by pop music? I mean, did you grow up with a lot of that modern music, or was there a lot of, like, Iceland music around?
I think my household was probably quite unusual for Iceland, because there was always a record on the gramophone. It was.
How many people in the house?
It was like 7 people in the house, grown-ups, and I was like the only kid. And there would be, like, I remember, like a queue by the record player. Like there would be always a record on, and so I heard a lot of music as in my childhood. I think probably what's unusual about Iceland is we have this kind of identity that we are far from the rest of the world, which we are, and we are watching it like from some sort of a balcony.
Lovely.
And we just sort of don't like most of it, and then we sort of pick what we like, you know. And so we don't get attached if it's like a form of movement, or if it's like a political thing, or we, for example, in the punk period, we had no Margaret Thatcher to hate, you know. Iceland has always been like that for 1,000 years.
Now, most of us probably heard about Iceland, apart from at school, was obviously the sugar cubes, because you had massive success in England and in America, all happened very quickly. Do you think that then helped create a music scene that people in Iceland would say, hey, we can get guitars and go and sell records in America? Do you think that helped?
I think there are sort of bands that have gotten attention abroad that are from Iceland, like Sugar Cubes and me and Sigur Rós. It has definitely helped that none of us were aiming to please, or like, because there was a lot of bands. I remember when I was a teenager, they were sort of trying to be the Icelandic U2 or the Icelandic this or that, and copying basically what was going on abroad. And then they go abroad and figure out that the abroad didn't want more abroad. They wanted, you know, they had enough for themselves. So the fact that I can see now, I mean, I hope it's not, I'm not being too big-headed saying that, but I can see in Iceland that has had a big effect. The people, like young kids there now that are doing music, they're not trying to imitate this and that. It's all about having your own voice and being original.
Okay, well, this might be a good point to have a look at Iceland and have a look at some of your career so far, okay?
Yeah.
Bjork in Iceland and on video. Now, your music and your image have changed a lot over the years. It's obviously important for you to keep moving on, and some would say that horrible phrase about reinventing yourself every time. I don't think that, but what is it that drives you to move on? If you found a successful formula as a chef, you're going to sell the same recipe for the rest of your life. When you're a musician and an artist like you are, what is it, that drive to bring something new rather than more of the same?
I think it's just nature. It's not in nature's nature to stay the same. For example, your hair, you know, you have to...
Don't talk about my hair. Can you? I haven't got
you have to cut it. No, it grows. It's with normal people, they have hair and then it grows, and then it grows, and then they cut it or whatever.
Yeah.
But with people who are in my job, they have hair and then it grows, and they've changed their image, you know.
Yeah.
And they reinvented themselves.
Yeah, I know, it's silly.
So I think everybody changed. Yeah, it's a feel-good factor, I think. Probably more than courage.
Are those your decisions, what you wear and how you show yourself? Do you have people advising you, and do you choose things, or is it you or someone else?
Well, I decide what I wear, yeah. But I have a lot of friends who are really obsessed with clothes. So I'm surrounded by good people.
There's something you take very seriously, is the staging of your concerts. How do you come about that? What happens then in your head? You have to make the music go to pictures then, I guess.
I think with this tour, I wanted the music to play the main role. You know, there was a moment, I think we all thought, wait a minute, we're in opera houses. these are the sort of stages you can bring in elephants and volcanoes. Why don't use it? It's going to be the only tour you do in opera houses. Go for it, you know. And then, which just looked very exciting and tempting for a little bit, and then, because compared to Homogenic, the tour I did before, I wanted all the importance to go on the music. Music was the chocolate, and you lie in your comfortable chair, and with the orchestra and the choir and everything, and almost make a statement that you don't need more. You don't need, like, you know, incredible, you know, special effects and editing and elephants and whatever. Music is enough.
Your voice, right? For me, and I'm sure for lots of other people, it's the only voice that I've ever heard that can bring me to tears. Some of the things you reach, and not with words, with sounds. When did you discover that you couldn't just go, human nature, you know, you went way out there? How young were you when that happened?
I don't know. I guess as a child I sang a lot. You know, my mom would take me to the bus in the morning, and I would actually be a Julie Andrews. I would actually stand up and walk back and down the bus and want to sing and make everybody happy, you know, and which is a bit sick.
Oh, I like it.
Yeah, so I think from very early on, I definitely, and I've heard, I think a lot of singers have that, you know, they kind of, like when I was I remember going on school trips, and the other kids would ask me if there was a long drive back or something, they would ask me to sing.
I mean, you've been composing since the age of 11. Is it still done in Iceland, in your little mountain hut and wandering around, or do you write on the tour bus and in airports? And where do you write?
I think part of me is always like a machine that never stops. I mean, I always have had a song in the back of my head, and like when I wake up, there's a song there or whatever. I think most of my melodies, though, I think like 90% of them, probably more, are all written in nature. And as long as I'm in a place where I can sing at the top of my lungs and no one hears me.
Collaborate with a lot of people. How is it? I mean, I know that you create the basics, the foundations, and then you give it to people. That's almost like giving your baby to someone and saying, now, don't give them that to eat and don't do that. How do you let it go?
Most of it is very intuitive, you know, and some songs I can complete on my own, and other songs just need that little extra something, or... and then there are also songs that are written with a person where we walked into a room and started together from scratch. You know, they're completely 50-50. It's sort of about, most cases, I know the person I pass it on to very, very well. Okay. Or I know its music really, really well, that I've been playing it in my house for a few years, so it sort of feels like it's part of me. So I kind of know.
Is that what happened with those great guys from San Francisco?
Yeah.
Matmos, is that what happened with them? You knew them already? You listened to them?
Yeah, I probably mostly had been listening a lot to them, but they also had done some remixes for me. So I already could sort of see what sort of they do and how, you know. So, and then of course they added a lot of stuff, and then we meet in the studio and then you discuss, and some things, they on purpose did too many things, you know.
How did you meet Matmos?
I listened to the music first for a long time before, and they found out about me because I think their CD didn't come out in that many copies, and I'd bought like quite a bit lump of them and given them out to all my mates.
Cool.
So I guess I after they did my remix, I probably hooked up with them in London. Yeah, I think that was the first time.
What about Matthew Herbert, Radio Boy? How did you come across him?
I known him for longer. I think I would just meet him a lot because he's obviously from England. I'm a lot at venues, like at gigs, clubs, and we would just kind of have similar opinions on music a lot of the time. So yeah, I think maybe first time I met him in Spain. He came, there was a festival called Benne, I I can't remember. Benissimo. No.
Benissimo. Sounds Spanish. Yeah. Benissimo Festival, of course. That's fantastic. I've been there loads of times.
Italian.
And that's Italian. Sorry.
Sorry, I'm so sorry. I can't remember the name of the festival.
Doesn't matter. We know.
But he came there, and he was playing the same night, and I think we partied pretty hard afterwards. Mark Bell, him, and this Icelandic string octet, and a flamenco guitarist who's a gypsy, and his mate.
God.
So it was a big explosion when the Icelandic classical kids were being introduced to some serious flamenco playing in a hotel room. So yeah, that was quite dynamic.